Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast. You got Terry, Rob, and Caleb here. Boomer up.
Boomer Terry.
Boomer Caleb.
Boomer.
And we are in the beautiful podcast palace, the wonderful podcast palace.
Where we are not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma.
But we do have eligibility left. Get all the fun stuff out of the way first, guys. If you're going to be out of town and you're looking for a tailgate, Dan Donnelly, Sooner fan and Californian, or a Californian Sooner fan, has tailgateconnect.com. You can go on to tailgateconnect.com to hook up with the greatest tailgates across the country on just about any college team. And Dan has ventured out into the pro ranks as well, taking on some pro tailgates. But if you want to catch some great tailgates, go to www.tailgateconnect.com. Also, if you need a place to watch a Sooner game with Sooner fans, go with another Sooner fan, Dave Lamb, another Californian Sooner fan and Sooner alumnus, has Team Bar Finder. You can download their app at the Apple Store or on Google Play, or just simply go to www.teambarfinder.com. Find the bar with a Sooner watch party in your community, or if you want to start one, go to your local pub. Get Sooner fans, come up there, get them to agree with it. Contact Team Bar Finder, add your bar to their list. Get Sooner fans to come. Team Bar Finder, www.teambarfinder.com. And make sure and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, subscribe, all that fun stuff. So, how was your off week, Rob?
It was pretty good. Didn't do a whole lot, and that's the way I like it.
Did you play any golf?
I did not.
You're wearing a golf hat.
Yeah, but I didn't play.
So why are you wearing a golf hat? You only wear golf hats when you're playing golf, right?
No, I'm a rebel.
You're a rebel.
I am a rebel, sir.
He's got his Titleist Oklahoma Sooner golf hat on. That's pretty impressive there, Rob.
Mm-hmm. I stole it. No, I didn't. I don't know where I got it.
Is Titleist one of your sponsors?
Absolutely. Titleist and FootJoy and...
Hey, one thing, we do have a great podcast coming up. We got JY, Jason Young, from now trenchwarfare.com, and he's going to share more information about that. But stay tuned. Find out how you can follow him on Twitter, because if you want to get smart on football, you go to trenchwarfare.com and check out JY's stuff.
That's right.
But
always entertaining.
Did you break down K-State's weird blocking formation?
Yeah, and we will talk about that.
Because pretty much they had a whole game plan just for us. So I mean,
Sure they did.
Caleb, how was your off week?
it's all right. Went to Twin Peaks, watched the UFC fights last
How
night.
much of the fights did you watch, and how much of Twin Peaks did you watch?
I watched all the fights. It was a good card.
Oh,
Twin
okay.
Peaks. We went to a bar. There's a huge line. It's like a 40-minute wait. I went to the bar to get a drink. The waitress was like, I'll sit y'all with me. So we had to sleep within 5 minutes. Skipped the line, so that was good.
Look at that. You're a
Nice.
player, huh?
I guess. I guess I had her on Instagram. I didn't realize that till today. So she followed me back. But woke up and I opened Instagram. I was like, oh, that's our waitress from last night. I guess we
Ah.
had each other on Instagram last night. So
Well, Caleb,
a good fight.
he's good at drinking, isn't he, Rob?
I'm not really sure about that.
How were the fights?
they're good.
All I know is the one knockout that
Yeah,
looks
it was-
like the kick you could hear around
Yeah,
the
that
world.
knockout was crazy. The only thing that stopped the fight, the main event early, because Diaz had a nasty cut. It's never. We have a BMF title with baddest mother jammer in the world, and they get stopped by a ref. That kind of sucks. But it was like, man, he was getting handled though. First 3 rounds before it happened.
Yeah, I saw our buddy Holzhammer retweeted Dana White's tweet
Yeah.
of him sitting. I guess the president was at the
Yeah.
President Trump was there, and
Yeah.
Dana White was watching him in a private room
Yeah.
with
The Rock,
him.
I mean, the most important that person was The Rock.
The Rock.
The Rock came out. He had his own because he ran out with the belt, and then he had his own theme when he came out. It
Yeah.
went crazy.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. Holzhammer said, basically, Dana White, this man runs the mob. I know it.
I mean, one wears a wig and the other one doesn't. So I mean, it's kind of funny. They're both bald guys, but
But
it was a fun night though.
I think that's the first president who's ever attended a UFC fight. That's pretty cool.
I'm
which-
sure that there's something wrong with it somewhere.
And if you haven't seen my my personal Facebook post today, did you see it, Caleb? You don't get on Facebook.
I
that
don't,
much.
I'm actually like this close to like deleting.
Wow.
Super close to deleting.
Did you see it, Rob?
Was it about the band?
Well, it was that about the band, but also this group that does these mashups of speeches and puts them to songs. They did Donald Trump doing a Iron Maiden "Fear of the Dark." It is awesome. Gives me goosebumps.
No, I didn't see that.
No, but I did retweet Fever Tree, the band. You guys know Fever Tree if you watch our videos on Thursday nights. The entry music is Fever Tree song off their album Lessons Learned. Then also at the end of this podcast, you'll hear a little bit of them. At the beginning of our podcast is Iron Glide, JD, our buddy. But anyway, Fever Tree has submitted an application and all their information to be a part of the Norman Music Festival this year.
Oh, nice.
So they usually have Oklahoma bands or bands with Oklahoma ties. Fever Tree has Oklahoma ties. Mike attended the University of Oklahoma for a couple of years. Big Sooner fan. Are you okay, Caleb?
I told you Ross was going to attack Mom after
Oh.
he goes in there because that's what he did. We get him all pumped up and he's just attacking her.
Oh,
I
our
hear
dog.
I can hear him growling at her, laughing because he's just attacking her.
But
And it is No Shave November, by the way.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I'm going to not shave through the whole month.
Okay. Everywhere?
I
or-
never shave. So
Caleb, you?
I've had a beard for 3 years now.
I don't know if I'm going to go with the No Shave November. Yeah, I'll just
Championship November 2.
championship November. So, so we all had good off weeks. I did a bunch of I raked up leaves all day today, or yesterday, or I got this fancy blower and vacuum and got them all cleaned up. Guess what's back in the yard today? Leaves. It's like a never-ending battle this time of year. So, but we are going to have JY on here in a little bit, talk a little bit of the Sooner football. We got the Sooners coming up with Iowa State, a night game. How do you feel about that, Rob?
I hate that.
The only Sooner fan in the world who hates a night game.
Absolutely hate it.
I love it because it means to watch. I mean, there's good games on all day. Like I think early
Yeah,
game,
Rob, we get to watch games all day.
No, we don't.
Yeah, like the early games, Minnesota versus Penn State, and then you got Bama versus LSU. It's like that's 4 undefeated teams right there going at it. Then we play at night, so that's awesome.
So Rob doesn't like night games.
No, because I'll be in the stadium by noon, and then I won't leave the stadium until probably 3 a.m. And you guys will all be sleeping
Well, we'll be
when I
sleeping.
go, and you'll be asleep when I get back. So
Well, no, we'll be down at the stadium about that time, about 11 or noon, setting up the tailgate. It's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be like 65 degrees all day Saturday, or not all day, but in the afternoon. So it ought to be good tailgating weather. And did you watch any football this weekend, Rob or Caleb?
I didn't really watch any. I watched like bits and pieces. Really, I watched a little bit of the SMU game. We're at the bar, but I didn't really watch anything. I mean, I don't really care. I watched a little bit of the OSU game, and then
Yeah, I couldn't really watch hardly any of the OSU game because Dish Network was all screwed up. It was
Well, I went to Eli's. We watched the end of it over there. Like,
well,
there's
go
a
to
lot of-
YouTube. You can watch anything you want.
all right. Yeah,
Well,
that's
pretty
true.
much.
But I didn't get to see much of that. I watched the Oregon blowout, USC. Watched Washington, Utah. That was a pretty good game. But I tell you what, man, the Memphis SMU game, those guys were angry at each other.
Yeah.
There was
the winner of that
was
game
some.
pretty much goes to the New Year Bowl. So I mean, that's a lot on line for that game.
They were putting the hurt on each other. There was some hits. It was pretty impressive to watch.
You know what? They're both a little better than I thought they were. I mean, I didn't watch the whole game, but I did watch some of it, and I was kind of impressed by both teams actually.
Yeah, they were both. Though every time you hear Boucher's name, I get.
Bouchel.
Is it Boucher? Yeah,
It's
Boucher. That's
Boucher,
what
yeah.
I get. I always think of Boucher.
Yeah.
with the water boy. You know,
I think-
Boucher.
I think Texas picked around. I got a friend who's a Texas fan. He always liked Michelle, but more than Sam, and so like, I think Michelle's pretty good, but he doesn't fit Harmon's system, so he left.
But you know, of course, the top three teams were bye weeks, and Clemson had a bye week. Basically, they
Yeah.
played Wofford. I never even heard of Wofford or Wofford. Had you?
Oh yeah.
Hello.
I couldn't tell you what state it's in though.
I think it's in South Carolina. That's why they played them.
But the AP Top 25 came out, and the Sooners went up one spot to number 9 because Florida lost, and Florida remained in the top 10,
Not surprising.
dropped to 10.
And I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
They got what 6 teams in the top 10?
yeah, and Georgia jumps 2 spots for beating Florida. They jumped Oregon. So
Oregon. Yeah,
yeah, they jumped Oregon. It's
I don't really think Oregon's pretty good.
LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Penn State, Georgia, Oregon, Utah, Oklahoma, and Florida, and Baylor is number 11.
Touchdown.
So is it, well, basically this is the last time we really talk about the AP Top 25 because it doesn't
Tuesday.
matter after this week, this
Tuesday.
coming
Right,
weekend.
Right.
Is it this Tuesday they do
This
it?
Tuesday.
This Tuesday they do it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Oregon's going to lose again this year, which is kind of sucks for us because Oregon's pretty dominant right now.
Yeah,
Just killing
but
teams.
here's the thing though. I talked to somebody had a good point today. They lost to what, a 3-loss Auburn?
yeah.
So
Legion Field.
how good of a loss is that? When
It's better than Kansas State.
I don't know.
When
You
Kansas
lost to,
State was worse off as Big 12. They scored 40 points.
if
on
if
us.
Kansas State wins out and is a 2-loss team, is who has the worst
It's
loss?
a big if. I don't think that's going to
No.
happen.
Well, Caleb, way to be
What if-
positive and
what
on
if-
on the boat here.
What if Auburn beats Bama?
Good.
Well, I mean that makes Oregon's loss look better then, though. So I mean,
Well, I don't mathematically. We're not going to know until the polls.
I think they said pretty much
Come
if we win out, we have a 17% chance. I think that's what it is right now. So I mean,
I feel like that's high.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on. I think it depends on where we're at in the first
we'll probably be where we're at right now.
poll. If we're at number 9 or 10, I don't think there's very much of a
There's
chance.
too much in front of us. It's just, and then like they love the SEC teams. I mean, they'll probably have Bama LSU 1-2 for this week's matchup alone.
Hell, they may put Georgia in there too. I think it's a conspiracy to get
I think the top 6
Four SEC teams.
4
in?
SEC teams. They just want to have the SEC championship.
I think it'll probably be LSU, Bama, Ohio State, Clemson. Then I say Penn State, then Georgia. Watch them put Minnesota above us. That'd be annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause Minnesota is undefeated in the
Well,
Big Ten.
They're still behind us, so if Minnesota knocks off Penn State, that'll help us.
Well, they'll jump us then, though, probably.
But I think Oklahoma has to win the remainder of starting this weekend. Has to dominate the remainder. They can't have any
Play
close
like they
games.
did before the Kansas State game. We're dominating everyone before that
Yeah.
game.
You know, if we can't drop any more eggs.
Oh
But-
God, no.
It's I hate this. I hate feeling like this. I hate.
Well, it's just crazy. I mean, like we're turning into like it's a routine now. 8 of the last 9 years, we've been double digit favorite and lost straight up. Like
Yeah.
it's coming routine. That's why I said for every year, if we're going to lose a game that we shouldn't lose. And it happens every year. That's crazy though.
Oh,
8 of the last 9 years,
did
double
you-
digit favorite we lose. It's
Did you-
crazy.
You see, Kansas State was selling, started selling
It's a
T-shirts.
Super
for
Bowl.
it.
I mean, that's one thing about Oklahoma. When you go wherever you played, like that's the biggest game of the year, counting bowls and everything. That's the game that
Well, yeah.
national TV. You got Jalen Hurts, Lincoln Riley. I mean, that's just the biggest game.
Yeah,
We've
they-
won 4, right? Back
Yeah.
to back to back to back. Big 12 champion. We're the big dog.
Yeah, but
Everybody wants to
they
know.
put out T-shirts, and it was one to remember, WON, and it had Kansas State had the score
So
on
that
it.
was that was a Super Bowl. I mean, they won't win another game that big the rest of the year unless they put us in the Big 12 championship. They'll lose then, but I mean,
Are you
that's-
sure?
Yeah, I think we're better. They play a perfect game, and we play a crappy game. We still almost won.
No.
So I mean, everything went their way that game, and then we still almost won that game.
That's for sure.
We got every break.
Holy cow! I just looked up.
Yeah,
Baltimore's putting it
Baltimore.
on.
They don't
New
know
England.
how to handle Lamar at all, which not many people do.
Do you know who the number one receiver for the Ravens is?
Hollywood or Mark Andrews.
Mark
for
Andrews.
One, you might.
Mark Andrews is the number one receiver.
I have him on my fantasy team. He's really
Ah.
good.
Steelers won today, so
Who'd y'all beat?
the Colts.
Well, yeah, y'all should. I mean, Vinatieri misses a kick. That never happens.
Yeah, well,
Laces are in, though.
hey, if we
I
recover,
mean, is it
the-
a good thing that you guys won? You kind of want a good, better draft pick, don't you? Is that kinda what
I
you
don't
want?
know. We're still going to have a pretty good draft pick. I mean, but
I don't think you guys are going to catch the Ravens. I don't think. So, I mean, you guys don't make be a wild card team either.
I don't know. I just want to get in the playoffs every year. You never know what's going to happen.
I don't think. Oh no.
You realize the Steelers are the only wild card team and visiting team all through the playoffs to win a Super Bowl. So
I'm pretty sure the Giants did that.
no, the Steelers were the visiting team, won the wild card, and they were the visiting team for every game.
I'm pretty sure the Giants did that when they beat the
No.
Patriots.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were.
No, they weren't. So
They might not. Be.
anyway,
I don't know.
y'all want to talk to JY? Drop some knowledge on
before
this.
that, though, I got one question because you threw a fit by it. Rob, do you think eating breakfast for dinner is good?
Okay, meaning eating breakfast food, biscuits and gravy, eggs, and bacon for dinner. Is that normal?
I can do it, but I don't want to do it on a regular basis.
It's not normal.
I mean, it's not normal. It's food.
It's It's breakfast food.
You ever eat pizza for breakfast?
Yeah,
not
that's
normal either.
different.
How is that different?
No, do you eat donuts for dinner? No, you eat them for breakfast. Do you eat donuts in the afternoon? No, you eat them for
I eat
breakfast.
donuts in the afternoon.
I don't eat sausage biscuits for lunch either.
Why not? It's good.
Rob,
If it's good during breakfast, probably good during the rest of the day.
Y'all have some of the weirdest arguments I've ever seen
He
in
is.
my
I
life.
mean, he thinks Starburst are fruit, not candy. That's one of the weird
Skittles
one.
and Starburst.
Whatever.
All right, so I'm kind of on Caleb's side on that deal.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it's like I bought stuff. Teresa's been wanting biscuits and gravy, and I got up this morning. She wasn't feeling well, so I didn't make biscuits and gravy. She goes, "Ooh, we can have them for dinner." And I was like, "Y'all can have them for dinner, biscuits and gravy. I ain't eating
I
biscuits
just don't,
and
I don't
gravy
get.
for
I don't get
dinner."
why it's such a weird to you.
Pancakes. It's just not. It's not dinner food. It's breakfast food.
There's
My
no-
mama
I think-
never made biscuits and gravy
I
for
think
dinner.
it's just called food. That's the thing.
No.
No matter when you eat it.
There's a reason why people stop serving breakfast at 11.
Not anymore.
They stop serving breakfast at 11.
Not anymore. They used to. Now everyone does now.
Yeah, y'all are weird.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
But here's the
breakfast
weird
food
one.
is not for dinner. You can at me whatever you want. It's not for dinner. I don't do it. I don't eat scrambled. I don't eat scrambled eggs.
So I mean, you don't
fried
have
eggs.
like chicken and waffles. You won't do that.
No.
So you won't go like IHOP.
I don't
or,
even like chicken and waffles.
You won't go to IHOP or Waffle House like after a night of drinking or anything.
After a night of drinking, it's midnight.
That's
Therefore,
a new day.
morning.
I knew that was coming.
I don't count that as new. I mean, when you wake up, that's
No,
morning.
if it passes midnight, it's morning, man. Well, I used to hit the kettle buffet at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the mornings, man. For years, I did that. That's breakfast. It's a.m.
That's not breakfast. I mean, is it? I mean, I eat it all the time. Like now, I have restaurants that have it 24/7 now. So I mean, obviously, you're wrong.
Well, we'll see what JY thinks about it and a few other things. But let's get JY on the phone with us. All right, Sooner fans on the phone with us. You know him. Well, you know him as Jason Young. We and a few of his closest friends know him as JY. Right, Rob?
That's right. We're close
Yeah,
friends.
Yeah. So he has a new website out. It's called trenchwarfare.com, and it's where he, as he always does, breaks down the trenches of Oklahoma football. But we have him on, Boomer JY.
Hey, Boomer, guys.
So first question, very important question. Did you get an extra hours of sleep last night?
Yeah, I did actually.
Did
I
you?
woke up early this morning, and it was, like 4 a.m. And I looked at my clock, and I was like, man, that's got to be wrong on my phone. I was looking at my phone like Rob, and it just kind of blew me away, and I forgot that it was daylight savings time. So yeah, I ended up squeezing a couple extra hours of beauty sleep in. I know I need all I can get.
Well, I was confused because my wife for some reason, she doesn't sleep well. She has some sleep issues, but for some reason, she went around and changed half the clocks and didn't change the other half. So I had no damn idea what time it was this morning when I got up. It was like every clock is different. So I don't know why she changed, like the microwave and the stove, but the coffee pot wasn't changed. My alarm clock, there were like half the clocks weren't changed. But how did you spend your week, your off week? What did you do yesterday? What games did you catch?
Well, I just moped around the house mainly. I mean, you keep looking at the schedule, just trying to make sure there's no Sooner game on. It just kind of sucked, man. It's it's almost like summertime without the warmth.
Yeah.
It's a little cooler up here, but I don't like bye weeks. I know the guys do. They like to get home, see their family and friends and stuff like that. But I'm not a big fan of bye weeks just because I look forward to the games every weekend. It's just kind of a good thing, unless it was a game like last week, of course.
Yeah. So, when have they always had 2 bye weeks, or am I just fantasizing that we used to just have 1 bye week, didn't we? When did they?
Yeah,
when did they start the 2?
Right. Well, it was a couple of years ago. I think it was like either 3 or 4 years ago they went to the 2 that I can remember, but I've been hitting the head a lot, and I don't remember much, so I could be wrong. I know Blinken's probably at home being like, no, they had it this time, and that.
Oh yeah, he'll
Probably.
where the moon was in its cycle and everything else.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't remember going to 2 bye weeks just until here recently.
Yeah. Also, we have some just dumb sports questions for you. Okay, these are arguments that we have amongst ourselves. Rob doesn't have them a lot of times. He thinks we're crazy, and it may be our family is a little bit crazy. But the first one is, do you have any fan superstitions?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that your superstitions help the team?
Tell the truth now.
I believe that they hurt the team.
So you have a game day shirt, a game day hat, socks, or whatever it is that you have, or if you're watching a game, you do certain things. If the team does something while you were doing a certain thing, or you.
Well, first and foremost, I'm not allowed my friends who are also Sooner fans, mainly LT that lives in Shawnee. We've been buddies since like the 7th grade. I'm not allowed to go to any important games.
Ah, you've gone to games and they lose.
Well, let me just lay them out there for you. Okay. I was at K-State 2003 Big 12 Championship. You know how that ended.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was at the LSU Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
You know how that ended.
Yeah.
I was at USC
Oh
in
my
Orange
God.
the following year. And then I went and watched Spud State beat us on that damn Statue of Liberty play that they replay every 20 minutes on ESPN.
Right?
The greatest comeback ever. And at that point, LT said, you are not allowed to go to any more games where anything's on the line.
Yeah, I have to agree with them. You stay completely away from any big game. So, because it's pretty much almost a guarantee if you're there, we're going to lose it. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's pretty much the case.
Okay. Do you have a game day shirt, or do you do certain things on game day, or how does that go?
Well, there's no game day shirt or anything like that, but I do find that if I'm not ready to go, I get this inkling. Like last week, I was like, man, this isn't going to be good because I was way too relaxed before the start of the game. Like when I played, I was always the guy that was either puking or I was the guy that was just really amped up and really quiet, but I was never relaxed.
Yeah.
So if I'm relaxed before a game, we're screwed. That's just, it's rare that I'm relaxed and we play well. So.
Okay. During the game, like if you're standing up, on a big play on offense, do you find yourself standing up every time Oklahoma's on offense or on defense if something like that happens?
Yes, if it works, don't mess with it.
That's it. See, Rob does not believe in these things. Okay,
No.
I mean, I have, in my house we have the Podcast Palace, which is basically a TV room with all my Sooner and Steeler memorabilia in it. I have watched one game in this room. Do you know what game that was? Can you guess what game that was?
I don't have to. It was a loss. That's all I can
Yeah.
guess.
The Georgia Rose Bowl.
No, it was we were at the Georgia Rose Bowl, so
Yeah.
we can't go to the Rose Bowl again. But
Wait a minute, though. I was at the 2000 Orange Bowl
yeah,
where we won. So
and didn't you
Wow.
paint your face?
how do you explain?
And didn't you paint your face?
I did.
Okay, then you haven't painted your face.
I did.
And so did I, and I'd never painted my face before. So,
God.
but no,
There is a laundry list of stuff that you can do or not do here in this house. These people are rude.
I was sitting in here watching the Iowa State game, okay, and our patio, I was comfortable, had my shirt on, and everything else, and the patio, we call it the rally patio. If we get nervous about a game, we end up out on the patio. We have like 3 big screen TVs, and we end up on the patio watching it on a 19-inch flat screen, okay? But
Right.
Caleb kept coming in going, Dad, we got to get on the rally patio. And I kept going, I should never have to go on the rally patio for Iowa State. I'm not doing it. They're going to win it without me going on the rally patio.
Ooh.
I can never watch another Sooner game in the Podcast Palace. I'm not going to do it. I'm not taking a chance of that. And Rob brings up the face painting, okay? He talks about he was at the national championship game, but they haven't won one since, but he hasn't painted his face since then until this past year when we played Alabama. But for some reason, Caleb and I painted our face too, so we kind of jinxed that. So probably we should have just let Rob paint his face, and we'd been fine. Yeah. That's my Rob's sitting here.
Y'all need some therapy.
Yeah. At some point, you just can't add any more salt to the cake.
Yeah,
Right?
and what's crazy is Rob was big time high school baseball player, junior college baseball player, has no superstitions,
Nope.
none whatsoever.
That's not possible. I think that's un-American.
I know.
I just ain't got time.
Especially if you're a
for that.
baseball player. I mean,
Yeah.
baseball players are the most superstitious people alive.
Definitely. And a lot of people on the baseball team, were like, hey, I'm not washing my jock until we win. I'm like, listen, we suck. So you go ahead and just
Wash your jock, for crying out loud.
no.
But yeah, Rob has no superstitions whatsoever.
Well,
with
I mean,
football.
I like to join in the madness. That's the best term I can give you, madness.
Yeah.
But it's only for fun because there's nothing you can do or don't do that's going to have any effect whatsoever on how the Sooners play, win, or lose.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to take that chance. Do you, JY?
I don't. And I mean, I'm at the point where I don't know if I even watch games anymore until they're over.
Well, and also I pointed out, Rob doesn't believe that Lincoln is superstitious, but he was in a gray OU long sleeve shirt in the first half, came out in a red hoodie in the second half.
Didn't have anything to do with him getting cold
Yeah,
because it was rainy and wet.
No, I don't think it did. I think it has to do with bad juju on the shirt. He was calling bad plays, and I think it was the shirt's fault.
Okay.
I will ask him that at Rudy's on Tuesday.
Okay.
It's because I.
Yeah, and you got to ask him too why he wasted a minute 45. A minute 45 before he kicked the damn field goal and gained 7 yards.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing: we can ask him what we want, or try to ask him. Toby has the question, so
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
we've tried before, and to ask. Unless it's inquisitive, it's the fan questions, they always throw big giant beach balls up for him to answer. But there's been a few that have been pretty good. I've had a couple of them asked that I thought were pretty good.
Right.
I asked him, that if the offensive plays, does he come up with these schemes of how he wants this as the play idea, and then does he hand it to Coach B and say block it, or do they work together and come up with a complete play? And it was they all worked together, which I thought that was kind of interesting. But I also thought it'd be cool if he said, no, I just hand them to Coach B. That was the answer I was wanting, because that would be amazing. If he said, nope, I give him, here's what we're going to do, and you get those 5 guys up there to block it. But
Right. I would imagine he'd probably get B's input on whether or not he thought they could block it before they did it. Though.
yeah. I wish he would get Coach B's input before he runs another double reverse flea flicker or halfback pass. Am I the only one getting tired of those?
No, I mean, I'm the same way. Sometimes I think, he's creative and he's a genius when it works and all that, and then he's a dummy when it doesn't. So I get that it's a double-edged sword, but as productive as that offense is, and as
don't
efficient
need it, right?
as they've been able to, you don't need it. It's unnecessary, and a lot of teams take that as an unwritten message that you don't think that you can beat them straight up.
Right. Well, and
exactly what we think about it.
Yeah, and a lot of coaches, I mean, I think, Stoops said that, and there's been other coaches say that, Bob even talked about it back in the day when he used to, fake field goals and, double reverse and whatever it was. He said, when you get up on somebody and you don't have the talent, you got to find a way to separate yourself. And a trick play is a way for a less talented team to put more distance between you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And when we're running them in the first quarter against, Kansas for some reason, and against, I don't want to say it negatively, but it's like he kind of gets cute sometimes with his play calling when I think maybe he thinks I'm gonna run this because I can, because it'll work against these guys and it'll look good. But he did that against Iowa State a couple of years ago, and it went badly, and it gave Iowa State the momentum. He did it against Kansas a couple of weeks ago, and we looked horrible. What were we, 4th and goal from our own 35? That was ridiculous.
Yeah,
and then he did it against Kansas State, and one of them ended up into a turnover, but which really wasn't the play's fault. The guy was open, but it's like, why does he feel the need to run those plays against teams that when our running backs only have 6 carries in a whole game and we're running double reverse flea flicker passes? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me either. I mean, at the instance you're talking about against K-State, I think there was something like 59 seconds left.
Yeah.
It was right at a minute, less than a minute, maybe give or take a couple seconds. But, it's at that point, your defense is reeling. You can't get off the field, but you're still up 20-17. So let's run the offense. If you happen to get a good play out of it, great. Go into the locker room up 20-17 and regroup.
Right.
But, and Baskin made a pretty heady play. He threw it back across the middle. It hits Rambo right in the hands, and then, and it careened right to where K-State picked it off and went it back down to the 15-yard line. So,
yeah.
And then they go up, and now all of a sudden it's 24-20. But even after all that, you go right down the field and score with your regular offense to make it 24-23 at halftime. So who's to say that had you not run that goofy stuff, that you wouldn't have gone down the field and scored anyway and maybe put some more separation without the turnover?
Yeah.
And
So the question is, why is he doing it? Is it because our offense is not running like it should? And if not, why?
That's
well, I think it's just part of his offense. I mean, you look at it, he just does that stuff.
yeah.
You look at it against Georgia, he did the quarterback, the reverse with CeeDee Lamb where he threw it to Mayfield in the end zone.
Yeah.
He did it there. He does something like that every game. I just think it's part of his offense. I don't think it's to compensate for anything, but part of me thinks too that he's going for the knockout punch against teams that he thinks may mentally fold.
Right.
Yeah.
And against K-State, I don't think that they were going to fold no matter what. And he's got to get to know K-State a little bit better. And I said this in my preview, that you could trot Tom Brady and the New England Patriots out there at Bill Snyder Stadium, and those people are going to raise hell. They are going to fight anybody that doesn't have K-State stuff on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that place, they are batshit crazy in that place. I mean, they literally, I don't know if you've ever been to K-State or not,
No.
but they literally mowed the pasture and put up goalposts. If you think that Oklahoma State is the country school of the conference, I dare you to go to K-State, watch a football game, because literally you are dodging cow patties on the way to the stadium.
Wow.
Because you're parked right next to cow pens and all that good stuff. They dug a hole down in the ground, I guess, where the tornadoes maybe wouldn't blow the stadium away. And that place is nuts, man. It is absolutely nuts. I've never seen an environment like it.
Wow. Yeah, we've never been up to K-State. We were thinking about coming up to these games, but every time we think about going to an away game, we go, man, we're too old to travel. I'm tired. I need a weekend off.
Sure.
But,
I understand that.
no, I mean, the excitement behind Oklahoma football, with myself, and with Rob, we called it drinking the Kool-Aid. I wasn't going to drink the Oklahoma defense's Kool-Aid until they did something. And this year they did something. They dominated Texas. I was wanting to drink the Kool-Aid way before then, but I wanted to see more and more, and we kept seeing more. Okay, and then Kansas State happens, and I got to be honest with you. I told you when we were texting, that I watched your breakdown of the Kansas State game. It just pissed me off all over again because I don't want, I usually will rewatch every game. I can't rewatch losses. I just can't do it. I've tried. Even doing the podcast, I'm like, I got to keep myself, on top of it, and I start to watch it. I'm like, ugh, I can't do it. I'm not going to watch it again. But what happened to the defense? I mean, you put some stuff out that was great. The one goal line stand where we had all smalls out there. We weren't matched up right. Did Kansas State? Does Grinch have some? Is he that predictable? Because it seemed like every time we slanted left, they went right. Every time we went right, they went left. Or was it sheer luck? Or does he have tendencies that were enough that K-State's coach calculated if it's 2nd and 7, they're going to do this, so this is what we're going to do? Or was it just dumb luck?
Well, when I played ball back in college, it was back when we folded up our helmets and put them in our pockets after the game. It's been a while, but way back when everybody was still running the option, we ran the split back gear. And our coaches always used to talk about how defenses weren't going to blitz us very much, because if they did and they missed, then they were likely to give up a big play and we'd end up gashing them. And so a lot of times we got base looks, and the same thing can be said for a stunt or a slant, different things like that, because if you slant out of the way of the play and you guess wrong as a defensive coordinator and as a defense as a whole, you're going to take yourself out of lanes. And offenses like what Kansas State ran against the Sooners, they force you to play them straight up.
Okay.
And whenever they would slant, then they would just get caught a lot of times. And you got a 50-50 shot at being right as an offense. And if you hit it, it's gonna go. And so, but the biggest thing I think that happened against the Sooners is they just got out formation, because you look at all those formations that K-State threw at them, And it was very reminiscent of the old wishbone offenses without the wishbone in the backfield, to where they were going double tight and putting a wing and going jumbo sets. But the thing that stood out to me is that the Sooners never adjusted to that from a personnel standpoint. And that's what got me the most, because all you hear all year long and all you see is how the front seven is the strength of the team. And against a team that is going to run the football, and going into that game, I talked about how K-State ran twice as many times on the season than they had passed. So why wouldn't you want to load the box with jumbo personnel and just shut them down? Because the Sooners didn't do that. They couldn't get off the field.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, a defense that had been, just scorned last year and ripped apart, and rightfully so. They were terrible, and then started getting praise. It almost looked like the same. People. You're on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. You heard, you saw all the tweets. It looks like Mike Stoops was back up in the booth. It looked like, really we're not any better of a defense. All the stuff, which I still think we're much better on defense. I just think the moon was right. Whatever you want to call it, everything Oklahoma did that Saturday was basically wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes back to coaching. Maybe the coaches weren't prepared for what was going to get thrown at them, because I can't think of his name, the coach for K-State. He knows what he's doing. He's got enough national titles. I don't care what level. If you do a football you're coaching, if you do what that guy's did, or done, he knows how to coach football. Okay. And he's just brought it to this level. It seemed like everything Oklahoma did offensively, defensively, on special teams was wrong all day long. And I don't know if it was just dumb luck or if Kansas State was that prepared.
I think it was a little both. Sometimes the ball bounces against you, but when you're on the road, there's something about playing in a hostile environment like that. And, they were prepared. They had done their homework. They had, their offensive coordinator got coordinator of the week for the whole nation that week. And like you said, when we zig, they zag. And he knew what they were going to do. And from what I understand, he dusted off some of his old concepts and schemes that they've been working on all year from his days at North Dakota State. And he basically pulled a Rocky, like Rocky did in Rocky 3, where, now I'm going to fight left hand, or I'm going to fight right handed most of the fight. And then I'm going to come out and switch, So they pulled some of that. But the other piece of it is, I think the Sooners are looking forward to a bye week. And I think the coaches were too. They thought that they were just going to roll out their helmets up there in Manhattan. K-State had just got rocked by Baylor and Oklahoma State, and they thought they were just going to lay down for them. And that didn't happen.
Well, see, that brings me to my point is, Terry and I talked about this, and we feel like that on both sides of the ball, they don't match up with us. We have better athletes on both sides of the ball, but Kansas State didn't necessarily share that sentiment, did they?
No, and it's funny because when you go back to the personnel, and I said this in my trench warfare breakdowns, there's no way that if you look at that roster up and down that K-State has any reason to be able to match up. But especially defensively, I think that the success was going to come in spite of the scheme, if that makes sense. Because when they were talking about how linebackers weren't fitting properly and all these other things, it just gives you such a small margin of error that you've got to overcome so many things in order to make this work. And if you've done it right, then we can run our base defense. But at some point, you have to realize as a staff, look, our base defense isn't working, so we're going to have to do something differently. And they never did. I kept waiting for them to adjust and do something to where okay, we're going to put more big guys on the line of scrimmage because it was obvious that the 3 defensive linemen that you had in the game were not beating those blocks. They were just double teaming all of our guys in the middle and just pushing them back into the linebackers, and they were getting whooped up front. But if you put more big personnel along the front, then it gives you less opportunities to double team people. And then you may beat some of those one-on-one matchups that that's going to create. But when you got Justin Broyles playing out in a 9 technique on the goal line, and I love Justin Broyles as a player, but come on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a safety. You know, we got big guys everywhere on that roster. Put them out there. I don't understand it.
Well, one of the things that I listening to the radio and that I saw too, when they would show, some of the replays during the game, it reminded me of back in my old high school days. We did this against a team, but basically when, if Kansas State was going to the left, they took their step to the left, Oklahoma's taking that gap scheme. And Kansas State was prepared enough that if the guy's in my gap, I block him, and maybe somebody, like you said, a double team on the other one, but the other guy, picks up the next one. It was almost, they were handing off blocks down, from the if they were going right, from the right to the left. If they're going left to the left to the right. If the guy's not in your gap when we move, you get downfield. If he's in your gap, you get him. And we actually in high school did that against Tulsa, Washington, way back in the early 80s when Tulsa, Washington was basically Tulsa Union. Tulsa, Washington beat everybody by 70 points. And McAllister played them when I played center, and they had a real athletic nose guard that just stunted left or right, and that's what we did. I mean, there was no special scheme. If we were going to the left, I took my step to the left. If he was in my face, I blocked him. If not, the guard took him. And we had to learn to adjust our blocking schemes that way, that, okay, now that he's not in my face, I've got to go get the weak side linebacker, or I've got to go to get this. And that's a lot of what I think Kansas State did, was just hand off blocks. If you're not in my face, I'm going to go get, and I think that disrupted Murray. If the guard, if the tackle's not in my face, I'm going to go get in Murray's face, and Murray was looking up with a guy in his face all day long. And I don't think he's seen that happen all year long.
No, because the difference is against every other offensive line that the Sooners have faced, including Texas, is that 3 defensive linemen were able to overwhelm whoever they were playing against.
Right.
They were able to penetrate. They were able to get off those blocks. And even if they passed it off correctly, the Sooners have been able to beat those blocks and occupy those guys up front to where they couldn't get to guys like Murray and White, and then they could be free runners to the ball. But if you're getting blocked, that just negates all that kind of thing, So,
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's Grinch has said this defense is built on disruption. The front 7 being disrupted. If they're not disruptive, they weren't. It doesn't work.
Right.
And that was blatantly, shown. What got me is that, like you said, though, I mean, we never overcame it. They never changed, never really changed the scheme, the personnel, and which brings me to my next question: is that a personnel issue? That I've always felt like Grinch, when he came, just from listening to him when he got here and the spring and everything, that he was, I could be wrong, but just things he said, that he was shocked at the level of talent that Oklahoma had. Not that they weren't talented, but I think he thought they were going to be more athletic than what than what was here. I could be misreading it, but it just felt, and maybe it was coach speak. But, I mean, now that we've seen somebody that disrupts our defense, he really didn't have – is that because, I've got the best I've got out there, even though they're the smaller set? I've got more of a chance with them than I do the bigger guys, because they're going to do this better than what these guys do, or
yeah, and I think as a coach sometimes, and as a manager, or even any position in leadership, sometimes you can overthink things.
Yeah.
But I think you get into a conundrum where if I change to the personnel that may have a little bit more success, I don't trust that personnel as much as what I do this group of personnel, if that makes sense.
Right.
And for coaches, you have to trust the people that you put on the field to do what they're supposed to do. And if you don't trust those guys, you're not going to put them on the field. But with that, I think, you know, the guys that you could put up front, you just play what if, you know.
Yeah.
You put Gallimore at the nose. You put Overton at one of the three techniques. You put Famatu at your other three techniques. And then you take Kenneth Mann or Ronnie Perkins, either one of those guys, and now all of a sudden you've got a 5-man defensive front like you used to run when everybody was running the wishbone against like Nebraska back in the day when Switzer was coaching. And one-on-one, I don't think that any offensive line in the conference is going to be able to handle that type of horsepower up front. And I don't think that that's a trust issue with any of those guys because they're all regulars in the rotation.
Right.
And I didn't even mention Overton, and you still got edge players like Benito and Agwebu and all of those guys. They have played a ton. If you wanted to, in really short yardage, you could almost go to a 6-man front if you had to, and there's no way that you can tell me if you had a 5 or 6-man front like that those guys couldn't win some of those matchups that are by design going to have to be one-on-ones now because you can't double team everybody anymore because there's too many of them to double team.
Right.
Somebody's going to get a one-on-one matchup and win that. And they just never did that. So I don't know why. And that's what was maddening about watching that game because you could tell that K-State knew what they wanted to do. They believed in their design. They believed in their scheme. And when they came out, they saw what the Sooners were doing. They stuck to it, and they said, we're going to do this until they stop it. And they never stopped it. So they kept doing it.
Yeah. Which was maddening. Yeah.
It was maddening.
You know, and
it was maddening.
You know, the commentators on the game said their coach was, you know, talked about the Oklahoma offense but he did to the Oklahoma offense what he wanted. If we can keep, you know, they're an explosive offense. Their game plan is to blow you up in the first quarter. If we can keep them from doing that, I think we got a chance. And that's exactly what they did. They kept Oklahoma from blowing it out in the first. A field goal, them holding Oklahoma to a field goal, we might as well have punted.
Might as well.
You know, because their mentality was we won. You know, we got them to kick a field goal, and for the life of me, JY, and this may be the dumbest statement ever, but when you're averaging 10 yards a carry, why are we punting on 4th and 5 or 4th and 3? Why do we ever punt when Jalen Hurts is almost guaranteed to get three yards a carry or whatever you want? Why are we punting in those situations?
I wish I had the answer to those questions, man, because
okay, so I'm not just tell me you're not crazy, Terry, because that's a good point.
You're not crazy, Terry, because that's a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It makes no sense if we got the offense on that's averaging, you know, I think it's an ungodly like 18 yards or something like that a pass, and you know I know we're not all passes are for 18 yards, but we're averaging that, and we're averaging 10 yards a carry. We get past the 50-yard line, and it's 4th and 5,
and we're punting.
No, go for it. The odds are in our favor, right?
Right. Should be.
Yeah. And against K-State, when I think at one time we kicked a field goal, it was 4th and 2. And I literally thought, you know, my wife was going to come into the living room and shoot Caleb because the language coming out of his mouth at the time we lined up, he called Lincoln Riley everything but, you know, a white boy. Just standing there. And I agreed with him. I mean, it's like, why? And that was inside the 20. We were in the red zone. Why are we going to kick a field goal right now? We're Oklahoma for crying out loud.
And I always felt like if you continue to go for it on 4th downs, especially 4th and short, I think one of the instances you were talking about was like 4th and 2. The other one was like 4th and 3.
Yeah.
And to me, that always created a sense of dread in the opponent because, you know, you always, and even as Sooner fans now, you get that sense of relief after you stop somebody on third down. You're like, thank God, right?
Right.
But then they go for it and you're like, oh, crap.
I know.
Right? But you have to know that other teams feel that way when they're facing us.
Yeah.
So why not flip it around on them and say, you're going to have to stop us for 4 downs. We got a big, athletic, powerful offensive line, big running backs, and a quarterback that's a humongous, powerful human being. You're going to have to stop us, and I don't think you can. I don't think you can stop us and have us get less than 2.5 yards every play. You know?
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I understand the coach mentality of, well, if they stop us on 4th and 3 inside the red zone or whenever we did it, you know, that's going to give them momentum. But I think the momentum was, their plan was, we're going to make Lincoln Riley kick a field goal. If we make them kick field goals, we've won the battle.
Yep.
Maybe you haven't won the war yet, but if every time they kick, we want, you know, a field goal, we won the battle, and that was their mentality. And I think Lincoln never caught that their mentality is, they just beat me, you know, because we kicked 3 or 4 field goals in that game.
Yeah.
I don't know how many it was.
You kicked 4 of them, and fortunately we had a kicker this year that's nails.
Yeah.
But you know, again, you go back and you try to analyze the pattern of thought, and you think, okay, well, maybe Riley's going for the knockout punch early with the trick plays, but then you turn around and let him off the hook when you don't go for it on 4th down and 2. So it's like, maybe we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, so just, I don't know. I don't know the train of thought. I don't know. Maybe it changes a little bit during the game.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just it doesn't make any sense when you're averaging that much. Why, you know? And I get, you know, our running backs only touched the ball, you know, 6 times, but you know, in the second half we went 3 and out. We ran 6 plays in the third quarter, so we pretty much had to abandon that. But the fact that, again, those 4 field goals, and 2 of them I know were in the first half, were perfect opportunities to give it to those guys to get 3 yards. And
yes,
you know, the averages say we're going to get them because most of the time that we're getting 8 to 10 yards every time one of these guys.
On average, we're averaging more than that.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
So
yeah.
But hey, give us your. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, it's got to be frustrating for the offensive line too, knowing that whoever gets the ball behind you is going to average 8 yards every time they get the ball.
Yeah. And
then give me an opportunity, coach. Let us win the game for you.
Yeah. And see, that was perfect. I would that's what I was fixing to ask you, JY. What's your grade on the offensive line so far this year? I know it's been, you know, the concern was it's young, inexperienced with that one guy, but to me, they've done, when you're averaging, you know, 10 yards a carry on a rush and your quarterback's only been sacked 4 times, you're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because when you go back and you watch the film on these guys and you see that a lot of times, especially on play away, either we don't keep somebody in on the backside to shut down defensive ends crashing, to, you know, that they're trying to come in the back door and shut down that counter play. And then you think about how many games have they played together. This was only, I believe, the 3rd game where all 5 starters that were the starters at the beginning of the year played together.
Right.
So I think when all 5 starters are together, I would give them a solid B, maybe a B+. And the only reason that I wouldn't grade them higher is I think at times they got whistled for some holds and, you know, different things like that. I think they jumped off sides a couple of times here and there. And they have given up an occasional sack, but for the most part, you've got a very, very good, sound offensive line. I think where the Sooners struggle a little bit is they don't have that big edge presence and a good big blocking tight end that they've had in years past. They don't have a Brandon Green. They don't have a Brody Eldridge. They don't have, you know, somebody like and Jeremiah Hall is getting better, and they're lining him up some at tight end, but Calcaterra's been hurt, and even when he's healthy, he's not that big of a blocker. And I think Braden Willis is getting better, but they don't have that big blocking tight end that you really need, especially in short yardage, to be able to just line up and run over people. Because you do need that. That's important.
Yeah. Well, I think they've got one in waiting with Stogner, because
I think so too.
I just don't think he's physically, he's still a kid. He's he's
Sure.
huge,
Right.
but strength wise, because from what I heard, when he straps it on and goes head to head, or they tell him to go do something like run through a wall, he breaks the wall. I mean, he is that physically demanding. He's just not, I guess, strength wise and technique wise there, but they say he's just a beast when he's told to do that, or that's his job.
And the story goes that I can't remember which coach it was that went down to watch him, but whenever they went down there, they were blown away by his physicality. They go down there and they're expected to see a guy with just great hands and body control and all those things that you look for in a guy that can catch a ball. And he absolutely has those things, but they were absolutely blown away by his physicality when they went to see him in high school. So
yeah, and that it is, I think that is coming. I actually thought we might see a little bit more of him this year at the tight end, but but I mean, I think that's a hard position, and I think as much as they use it, like we said, the physicality, he's just not there.
He's a big kid, but he's not ready, I don't think, to take on a full size defensive end yet.
Right.
Well, and it makes it tough out of those open sets where you don't have a tight end, and you're trying to prevent people from crashing and cutting off plays, and just that one extra gap that having somebody lined up at that tight end spot creates. It might be that 1 or 2 feet that you need to keep somebody away from the quarterback's legs or away from the running back's legs as they're trying to make a move and get upfield in the hole.
Right.
So you need some of those big sets. And the other thing that big sets do is it really opens up things downfield for guys like CeeDee Lamb and all that, because whenever you put big personnel on the field, then they have to combat that with big personnel. And then it removes safeties and corners from the game. So it basically takes traffic out of the highway for those guys to run around on the back end.
Yeah. One question, Rob and I, we bounce around each other quite a bit, and that's the Jalen Hurts question. Okay. Is he – I know that there's a lot more quarterback runs and a lot more quarterback draws than probably what we've seen ever out of Lincoln Riley this year. You don't notice them a lot of times until you see the replay of it. You're like, okay, well, the reason why he ran on that one is because he was supposed to.
He was designed.
Right.
But is he getting out of the pocket too soon, in your opinion, on some plays because they've given him that freedom? I know that Lincoln has said they want it, and who was it? It was West Virginia. He stood in the pocket all day long, looked comfortable. Is he not going through his reads enough, do you think, to where, like Kyler, yeah, he would scramble, but he would scramble side to side, get out there. When doggone Jalen scrambles, it's straight up the field, man.
Right.
there ain't no nothing. I mean, do you think he needs to hold the ball a second or two longer and find that third read or fourth read or come back to the first read? Or do we just be happy that we got a guy that maybe he's not doing what he's supposed to do, reading all the reads, but he's going to get 8 yards anyway? I mean.
Well, and, in his defense, for 2 or 3 of the games there, he didn't have a complete offensive line. He had a lot of guys that were first-year players, second-year players that maybe weren't ready, maybe the equivalent of a Stogner, but just in a different position. So he had to pull it down and make things happen because he didn't have time to stand back there and do that. But definitely as the year went on, I thought that the trust definitely went up between him and his offensive line, especially against West Virginia. Now, right off the jump against K-State, they're amped up. You give up a sack. I think it was Swinson gave up a sack on that first drive. Maybe that makes him a little bit jittery and all that, but in his defense, again, it was there all day long.
Yeah.
A lot of the runs that he had, they were running that zone read to where he rides it outside and he either gives the ball or he gets up inside. And all day long, they were giving the Sooners that. And I don't know why they would give him that, but maybe they felt like that if we continue to give him this, he's going to try to go back to it. Maybe they saw something in the film that maybe wanted to do that. But, I mean, against K-State, I don't think he was the problem. I think, I thought he played really well. And, the 2 turnovers that you have, he wasn't anywhere near them.
Yeah.
He did have the 1 fumble, but I think he covered that right back up. But I think at times he does have that tendency to maybe jump the gun a little bit. But as the year has worn on, I think that Riley slowly worked that out of him, because one of the reasons I think that he came to Oklahoma was to have Riley refine him a little bit to get him ready for the NFL.
Right. And that's the thing that we talked about a couple of podcasts ago was, people were talking about, well, we didn't see, you never saw, Baker run as much as him or Kyler take off. But part of that was because Lincoln coached them for 3 years. Right. When they stepped into the starting role, they knew that was already coached out of them, I guess is what I'm saying is. But, Jalen's been here since January, never played a down, with Lincoln. And it's something that Lincoln had to, is trying to coach out of him. Stay in the pocket, go through your reads. Because, I think it was the Texas game, and even the commentators were like, ooh, even the fumble in the first quarter, even though he got, 30 yards and then fumbled, CeeDee Lamb was over the middle, wide open, coming open to the right. He was coming out of the middle, wide open. If he'd have just stayed there, I think it was Joel Klatt. They did that game. Joel Klatt said if he just stays there one more second, CD, and of course CD ended up killing Texas anyway. But it seemed like that was an issue. And now, I don't have a problem. I think, Rob, you have a problem with it, don't you? A little bit.
Well, I just want him to stay in and go through some more reads, but it's hard to do that when you're running for your life.
Yeah, so, or when you take off running, you get 8 yards.
Right.
If he was running and some, I don't know, some fans have said, he's trying to. I heard the other day he's becoming the Russell Westbrook of Oklahoma football. Russell tried to do it all, and I don't think that's the case. I just think he knows his abilities, and you know what? If he looks up and he can't see his third read, or he doesn't, if he looks down, instead of looking at his third read, he sees 10 yards of field, I'm going to go get that 10 yards. Give me 10 yards, I'll take it. So,
well, I understand that. But we cannot go through another game giving Kennedy Brooks and Trey Sermon 3 carries apiece.
Nope.
Can't do
agree.
it.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. And a lot of people are like, where'd Sermon go? Why isn't he playing? Well, you know how Lincoln is. It's the hot hand, and Brooks has had the hot hand, and Stevenson a couple of weeks ago was the guy with the hot hand.
Well, neither one of them got a chance in the Kansas State game. 6 carries.
Yeah, it was. They had no hand in that game.
Yeah,
it was. And that's what baffles you about it. An interesting stat, since Riley has been either the coordinator or the head coach, is whenever the Sooners run the ball more times than they throw it, they win.
Yeah.
In the case that they throw the ball more times than they run it, they lose. And against Kansas State, they had one more pass than they had runs.
Dang it. Where has Sooner Magic gone? That's because, I say that coming into, watched your breakdown online of the onside kick fiasco. We can't get onside kicks anymore. It is just a rule that Oklahoma doesn't get an onside kick. They should just. I mean,
Yeah.
now my interpretation of what they all said was, okay, that the rule is that obviously you can't touch the ball. So they were looking if Oklahoma touched the ball, which nobody argues that Oklahoma didn't touch the ball.
Right.
But he was blocked into him, which then that is the part that's not reviewable. They can only look at, did he touch it? Yes, they can't look at why or make a decision based on why he touched it, correct?
Yeah, and for me, I mean, who sits in these damn rooms and say we can review this but not that? Okay,
Right.
we're looking on the video,
Right.
but if we happen to notice this other part over here,
That
we
the-
see OJ over here putting on the glove,
Makes
I mean,
no
we
sense.
can't look at that thing. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. I mean, who writes? I mean, okay, if you're going to review the play now, and there are the people who go, okay, you can't go too far. You go, well, if you review the play, then everything is reviewable, because then they're going to say, well, look, there was a holding on the offensive line on this. I get that, but when the rule is it's not touching, I don't even understand the rule. It's you can't touch it, but if you do touch it because you were blocked into it, then it's not touching. But they weren't reviewing him being blocked in; they were reviewing the touching. And you can't review two things on a review. I guess
I guess we can't walk and chew gum just gum as officials. I mean, we kind of had that figured out already. I think it stands. I mean, but geez.
Yeah, because I fully, I was like you said, on trench warfare that you were running around your house. Okay, I was actually on the rally patio. Caleb was inside, and how the TVs get out of sync sometime. One's like 2 seconds,
Yep.
3. I just hear Caleb going ape crap crazy. Okay, oh my God, we got it. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh. And then they start, I mean, it was almost a done deal. And they said, well, it is reviewed. And, oh, look, well, the Oklahoma guy did touch it. The first thing I said, you can ask Caleb, was he got blocked into him. Matter of fact, he got clipped. So they got to give us the ball. It's, he got blocked into him. He wasn't going after the ball. He got hit and knocked into him. Yep,
Yeah,
you're
what
right,
the
Dad.
caveat says-
Everybody was like, yes. He got blocked into him. Well, nope, he touched the ball, but we can't look at why he touched the ball. Ugh.
Yeah, but what's crazy about it is there's kind of a bylaw or whatever, a trump card, if you will, that says if something's blatantly obvious, the eye in the sky can say, hey, you need to look at this and do this, and they still didn't do that.
Right. And that was blatantly obvious. I mean,
Yeah. It's one of the first things you notice.
yeah.
I mean, Tracy Bridges did not initiate that contact.
Nope.
The
He
guy
was
had his
actually trying to miss it. You see him, he kind of pulls up and almost
Turns.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, hunker away from it. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, it was Oregon all over again. The old saying, we shouldn't have been in that situation, is true, but when you run a play right, you should get it right. I mean, the refs should get it right. And
They had certainly every opportunity to make the right call there, and they, bound by rules, couldn't.
which
Right. And you have the ball on the 38-yard line with 1:45 to go. There's no way if that goes to overtime they win that game.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in your
Meaning
opinion,
Kansas State.
yeah, yeah, I know. Now let's finish it off with this. Okay, in your opinion, does anything that happened last week going to cause Oklahoma issues this week and the remainder of the year? Is there something that Kansas State did that Iowa State, Baylor, TCU, and Oklahoma State are going to go, ha ha, that's our golden ticket right there. This is what we're going to do?
Well, I think the only team that could probably do something similar to what Kansas State did that the Sooners are going to face the rest of the year is Oklahoma State, just because of Chuba Hubbard and how well that they run the football. Baylor is still big play, receivers, all that type of thing. I think Iowa State is a very good, well-coached football team. They're going to come in this next Saturday, but they're really young. And the other thing that you have a harder time doing in college than you do in the NFL is these guys got to go to class, right?
Yeah.
So they can't spend all day long reinstalling new wrinkles to the offense. To a degree in college, you kind of have to just do what you do and be who you are. Where you hear in the NFL, it's a copycat league and all that type of thing. So they're better at making week-to-week adjustments like that. So I don't think that you're going to see teams try to fight left-handed, if you will, like I said earlier, to the degree that K-State did. I think the Sooners match up better with remaining opponents for the rest of the year. But, Kansas State went and they demolished Kansas yesterday.
Yeah.
In a rivalry game. They're 6-2. They're not a bad team. So
They're
it's very likely that they could win out and be third in the Big 12 before it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
They really could. And be in the top 15. That's not going to hurt the Sooners. It's actually going to help them if they do think they're going to be able to backdoor climb into the playoffs. But they need a lot of people to lose that are ahead of them, and now the Pac-12 is a player in that as well. Whereas in years past, you didn't have to worry about that as much. But,
Yeah, but we had this little discussion a while ago. I had it with Caleb. Oregon lost to a three-loss Auburn, possibly a 4-loss Auburn. Could be a 5-loss Auburn.
Could be.
It's all said and done with. That's what everybody's hanging their hat on. Oregon's only loss was to Auburn.
Well, they're going to keep getting that credit for what they were ranked.
Right.
Yeah.
When it turns out Auburn may not be as good as what people thought. Because I guarantee you the Pac-12 is garbage. It is terrible. I haven't seen, the best thing about really the Pac-12 is Oregon, and it's not the team, it's their uniforms. I mean, the guys.
I'll give you that on the uniform.
The guys get, A+ on the uniforms, but I just don't think the Pac-12 is that good. I mean,
well, Utah's defense is probably one of the best units in the country, in my opinion. But offensively, they're not as good.
Yeah, but I mean, Washington took them to the, line, down to the line. Who was it that beat? USC beats Utah. How does that happen?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just goes back to how well you match up sometimes.
Yeah. But, JY, tell everybody, all about trenchwarfare.com, how to find you, what it's all going to be about.
Well, we wanted trenchwarfare.com, but that domain was taken when we were trying to pull it up. So what we did is we made trenchwarfarereport.com. And so TWR, if you will, it is going to be a site that's devoted to the film rats. It's not going to be a recruiting site. It is something that you can go on. You can get video breakdowns. Still going to do the Trench Warfare weekly. This week we'll be doing previews of Iowa State. And as it gets closer to signing days, both of them, I'll be breaking down all the signees and the commitments, and whenever offers come out, I'll be doing video breakdowns on those guys and kind of letting people know this is why this person's special, or this is why I think the Sooners offered them compared to maybe some of these other guys. And from time to time, I'll just start breaking down people that I think that maybe need a look, as far as Oklahoma kids or kids that I see in the Kansas City area where I live. But trenchwarfarereport.com is just something that it's been in the works for a few years, and I feel like now with the videos and hopefully, maybe at the spring game I enlist you and Rob and we can do some instructional videos and that type of thing.
I don't know, our athleticism is up there pretty high, so.
Is this going to require me to run or jog?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Can we do it? Can we do it with a beer in our right hand or left hand?
Well, if you're as talented as the guy that was in the stands for the Washington Nationals.
Dude, that was – did you see that, Rob? He got it was a home run ball. He's got 2 Bud Lights. But that man's a millionaire now because they're paying him money. a home run ball, it hits him in the chest. He leans back and it rolls down. He has 2 beers in his hand, lets it hit him in the chest, rolls down, puts his beer down, and picks up the ball.
It was a boss move.
It was.
So many ways. So many ways.
But no, but guys, go check it out. Sorry, I said it wrong, didn't it? It is trenchwarfarereport.com. When you pull it up, it has men playing football on the front of it. And when I say men,
Me?
no,
Oh, my bad.
no, Rob, it's not. These are guys.
That look like me.
Yeah, that look like they would pretty much go out. These guys played football and then went and fought people at night. I think, JY, don't you?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, whenever you can play football like they did, and we've had this discussion on your podcast before, where this is back when they introduced legislation to outlaw it,
Yeah.
and all that type of thing. So. Yeah, it's a bunch of old school football with no face masks, leather helmets. It's football and it's film rats, and it's a Sooner site geared towards Sooner fans.
Nice.
Yeah, and if all of his stuff, I mean, I love watching your stuff, JY. I try to only listen to it, watch it at lunch on my computer at work, because I don't go anywhere for lunch. I know you can't tell this by looking at me. I really don't eat lunch. I just go look at Sooner stuff, in my office, and people walk by my office and they hear your voice. If you look at this, so and so here and there, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Shut up, leave me alone. That's I just got to tell people, just move on, watching game film. But it's stuff, guys. We've said it before. Rob and I have. If you watch it, you'll learn. Okay, even if you think you know everything there is to know about football, you don't, because JY will teach you stuff.
That's
that
right.
You go,
It's good stuff.
Holy crap, I didn't see that. Some stuff you'll sit there and, at least I am every now and then proud. I'll go, ooh, I thought the same thing. I saw that same thing on that play. I'm proud of myself.
Well,
when I
a
see
lot of
those.
the stuff is not stuff that people watch during the game.
Right.
Because their eyes are glued on Jalen, or they're glued on Kennedy Brooks or CeeDee Lamb. So I really appreciate the stuff that he does.
Yeah. And there is another thing that I'm going to find out tomorrow, or this Tuesday night. Teddy Lehman on his show the other day, JY, said that he saw, and you may have seen it too, he saw Kansas State ran a play that he has never seen before in his life. And he said he didn't say what it was, but he said the way they blocked it, everything that he said, I've never seen. And he goes, and I've seen, he played in the pros, not a lot, but he played a lot of college football. He said, I've never seen this play ran before. And I am going to corner him at the coach's show and make him draw it out on a piece of paper for me, because I didn't see that. Did you see? They did a bunch of stuff that was crazy, but did you by chance see what he saw? Or
Yeah, it's a concept called a wind back, and what it is it gets all of the offensive line moving on the front side of the play. That makes it look like it's going to be like you described, where you're passing people off, that front side zone scheme.
Okay.
And on the back side of it, you've actually got people coming at those backside defenders who are supposed to be fitting those gaps on the back end and winding them back to kick those guys out on the backside, because that's actually where you're going with the football the whole time. And you see the San Francisco 49ers have really brought that concept to the forefront this year. And one of the main reasons they've had so much success in their run game this year. And K-State introduced some of those concepts. And I know the play that I think he's talking about, it's pretty impressive to see, because it's not something that you can duplicate and really execute unless you have everybody
Doing the right thing.
performing at a high level. Yes, it's very difficult to execute.
Okay. Well, it sounded, because he said it was the blocking. He goes everything. He goes, but he did. He said primarily the blocking. He said, I've never seen anything like it. And so I'm like, wow. So
Yeah,
Interesting.
the old and I'll quit rambling in a minute. But the old adage is the linemen don't lie.
Yeah.
As a defender, if you can see and you read your keys and
Yeah.
you hear Urban Meyer talking about eye discipline when they were falling over the Sooner defense against Texas and all that, it's linemen don't lie. Well, what this wind back concept does is it gets the linemen to lie to the defense.
So
That,
football, as we know it, has now changed. Great.
again,
All right.
You know, now we don't have to just worry about not getting onside kicks. We got to worry about crazy blocking schemes. But you know, that's a thing that I think people. I know Gary Patterson said it about Lincoln Riley. He goes, he runs the same play out of the same set and blocks it 9 different ways. That's crazy. So you never know. It's the same play, he goes, but they do it completely different every time they do it. So you can never be completely sure of what they're going to do.
Well, Kansas State figured it out.
Yep.
Just saying.
Thanks, Rob.
they just didn't let them have the ball the whole third quarter.
That's
Right.
true. Yeah,
6 snaps.
you do that, and that's everybody's goal. You know, keep Lincoln's offense on the sideline. You got a chance to win, and everybody who does that, Army, Iowa State, Georgia did it.
Kansas State.
Iowa State did it 2 years ago. Kansas State did. You keep them on the. You know, and Lord knows Alabama did it for 1 quarter last year, and you know, you just keep them over there. Whatever you got to do it, and,
right.
and you got a chance. But anyway, Jay White, hey man, we appreciate it as always.
Good stuff.
Great stuff. Thanks for educating the masses out there, and keep it up. And
You just call me a mass.
Rob,
I'm just curious. I mean, I didn't say I wasn't. I'm just, just wondering.
okay,
Right.
but that's it for this podcast, guys. Boomer Rob,
Boomer Jerry.
Boomer JY.
Boomer guys.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. Sooner Football Fans Podcast is hosted by Rob Nixon, Terry Long, and occasionally Caleb Long. It is produced at the beautiful Podcast Palace in Norman, Oklahoma. Follow us on Twitter at SoonerFBFans and like our Facebook page at Facebook.com/Sooner Football Fans, and visit our website at www.SoonerFootballFans.com to read our blogs and keep up with our tailgating activities. Boomer Sooner, everyone.